You're watching KCCI, Channel 8, Des Moines. Iowa's news leader and home of live Super Doppler. This is KCCI News Channel 8's First News at 5.
A raging fire rips through an apartment building in Clive. Live teammate coverage looks at how the fire started, the quick response, and what the families will do now.
Plus, could construction on Interstate 235 be the cause of a big multi-car crash?
And fierce fighting continues in Fallujah as more American soldiers lose their lives.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today.
News Channel 8 was the first to bring you live pictures and reports from the scene of today's devastating fire.
The call came in at 12:35 this afternoon. The fire breaking out at the Crestland Apartments at 8427 Alice Avenue in Clive. Chris Negus brought you the first live report this afternoon. He joins us again live with some new information. Chris.
Well, Steve, I can tell you at this hour, firefighters are still working on a cause. In fact, I just spoke with a fire marshal. He's still here this evening checking out the situation. Right now, they are focusing on that first floor apartment that you see behind me. The fire marshal tells me there are plenty of potential ignition sources inside of that apartment, including model rocket fuel. Flames shot high into the air. Thick black smoke billowed even higher.
I just told him to get the fire department over here.
Louise Hamilton called 911 as she watched the building burn.
My first reaction was, I hope nobody's in there.
On a windy afternoon, firefighters found themselves battling the blaze from above. Residents in surrounding buildings quickly noticed the problem next door.
I got my grandbabies and got them out of my apartment because it was filling with smoke too.
Command from 300. Can I let them go?
Outside on the sidewalk, paramedics treated 4 residents with minor injuries. At the same time, fire crews were wondering what started the mess.
I heard like 4 or 5 different pops. One of them was pretty loud.
Early on, we had a lot of explosions from the bottom floor.
Those explosions could have something to do with model rocket fuel. Firefighters believe it was stored in a first-floor apartment.
We had reports that there may be some rocket fuel used for hobby-type recreation.
More clues will become available as they sift through the ashes. In the meantime, more than a dozen people have a bigger concern, figuring out where they will call home. Back here live, you can see the damage that this fire left behind. Now, you heard the fire chief mention model rocket fuel. He says they don't know for sure if that is the cause, but says even if it wasn't, it may have accelerated the fire. Now, the other half of this story, a big half of this story, are the people that are displaced, more than a dozen of them. Michelle Parker is here with that part of the story. Michelle.
That's right, Chris. And the Red Cross is here helping those in need. Residents will need a hotel, some of them at least, for tonight, and they have emergency needs that will need to be met, things like food and clothing. The Red Cross is going to help with that. The Crestland Apartments does have vacancies, so some of the people might be able to stay there in the interim and move into those apartments. Others will stay with family members. Apartment managers also have been on the scene to help out the residents. For those who were home when the fire broke out, this was a very scary situation.
When I see this dark smoke, and I pick up my kids and go outside, that somebody said this is coming from downstairs from neighbor. I don't know what's really happened.
Now, 4 residents had to be taken to the hospital. That includes a child and 3 adults, but none of them were hurt seriously, and that's certainly the good news about this story.
Some good news.
Okay, Michelle Parker and Chris Negus live in Clive with teammate coverage. Thank you.
And it was less than 6 months ago that people in West Des Moines were experiencing the same thing. Fire tore through the Sun Prairie apartments in May, damaging 24 units. Investigators still haven't found what caused that fire. Sun Prairie hopes to have the new building there open by the middle of December.
Now, after that Sun Prairie fire, we learned some helpful hints you can use to protect yourself in the event of a fire. Get renter's insurance. It can cost as little as $10 per month. Most agencies that sell home and car insurance sell renter's insurance as well. Also, make sure you have a working fire extinguisher and smoke alarm in your apartment.
And just about an hour before that fire today, rescue crews were on the scene of a multi-car crash on I-235. That happened just before noon near 63rd Street in the eastbound lanes. 3 cars and a truck crashed into each other. 1 person was injured. No word on their condition. No charges have been filed. Police are still trying to figure out if the construction there on I-235 had anything to do with that crash. From 11 until 2 this afternoon, I-235 was shut down to 1 lane in both directions, but all lanes are back open now. Now in news from the war in Iraq.
For the second straight day, U.S. and Iraqi troops are pounding the city of Fallujah. They're trying to regain control from rebel fighters there before the national elections in January. It's still unclear just how many Americans have died in this operation so far.
At least 10 U.S. fatalities have been reported in the past 2 days. Our Washington reporter Lori Kinney is following today's developments. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Steve and Cynthia. U.S. troops were going house to house in Fallujah today, fighting bands of insurgents who could number up to 3,000. Day 2 of the U.S.-led assault on Fallujah as troops try to crush an insurgency that has dug into the city for months. The U.S. commander says his forces quickly overran the city's outer defenses, but
I think we're looking at several more days of tough urban fighting.
he adds that forces are encircling Fallujah to prevent insurgents' escapes. But he says it's likely that terrorist leader Abu Musab al-Zarqawi has fled, if he was ever there. And Zarqawi may not have been alone.
My guess is that many of these insurgents may actually fade away, not fight, and alas, live to take up arms on a different day.
Still, commanders say the fight for Fallujah is key.
I think because Fallujah has been the cancer, that when the cancer is removed, it will impact other places, especially Ramadi, especially Baghdad.
As fighting continued in Iraq, President Bush made a visit to wounded soldiers here at the Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington.
Coalition forces are now moving into Fallujah to bring to justice those who are willing to kill the innocent and those who are trying to terrorize the Iraqi people.
The visit came as the U.S. field commander declined to confirm exact numbers of U.S. fatalities in Fallujah, and the White House insisted Iraqi civilian casualties would be light. U.S. commanders say when the fighting ends, Iraqi troops are expected to help secure the city. U.S. commanders in Fallujah say resistance has been somewhat lighter than expected, but it's not clear if that's because significant numbers of insurgents fled the city days in advance. Reporting from Washington, Lori Kinney. Now back to you.
Some good news today for some Iowa Army Reserve soldiers and their families. A welcome home ceremony for them is scheduled for tomorrow. About 50 soldiers from the Army Reserve's 394 Support Battalion are returning from the Middle East. The Ames-based unit was deployed in December of 2003. Their job, to process troops in Kuwait.
Now we have some breaking news just into our newsroom. John Ashcroft has resigned as U.S. Attorney General just 1 week after President Bush was reelected. The former Missouri governor and senator caught a lot of criticism over the Patriot Act. Also today, Commerce Secretary Don Evans also resigned, and you can watch for more on the CBS Evening News coming up right after First News at 5.
Meteorologist Curtis Gertz has not resigned. He's still over there, and he's talking football weather again. Curtis.
Yeah, 3A and 2A playoff games tonight. It looks to be a fantastic one out there. A little breezy at times. South winds about 10 to 15, but partly cloudy skies and game time temperatures in the low 50s. So not as cold out there tonight. A little rain moving in mainly late Wednesday, and then, here comes the cold air on Thursday. Super Doppler forecast in detail headed your way in just a few minutes.
Oh boy, we like when you say that, Curtis.
Things are dropping down just a bit.
Thank you, my man. Well, up next on First News at 5, the presidential election's been over for a week now, but the exact vote count is just now coming in. See how Iowans weighed in.
You're watching KCCI News Channel 8's First News at 5, Iowa's news leader, with Steve Carlin, Cynthia Fodor, and meteorologist Curtis Gertz with exclusive live Super Doppler weather. This is KCCI News Channel 8.
The presidential vote count continues across the state of Iowa.
But we now know the official tally here in Polk County. A drum roll, please. John Kerry received a little more than 105,000 votes. That's the most in Polk County, while President Bush received almost 96,000. The official count in the rest of Iowa's 98 counties will take a couple more days.
A group of private and public groups across the metro are joining forces to battle Iowa's meth problem. The statewide program is called Meth Watch, and it was unveiled today at a grocery store in Norwalk. The store is the first one in Iowa to implement the program. It's a free program providing training and preventative tools to any store that sells products that can be used in making meth. A New York woman is now the new mother of twins. So what's so special about that, you ask? Well, she will be 57 years old this week. No kidding. Meet Alita St. James. She's a single career woman who just today gave birth to twins. She was impregnated by a donor egg and donor sperm.
The doctors will all say to me, it's like, you're doing better than the 30-year-olds that have twins. And I am.
Maybe the strangest part of the story, St. James said the biological father did not want children, and so he gave this as a present to her after they broke up. St. James will be 75 years old when her twins graduate from high school.
Wow.
Good luck.
Still to come on First News at 5, find out how a simple thing like ladies' leggings can actually help your heart.
And a pleasantly cool night ahead, but there's some cold air that's going to slide in later this week. We'll have a check on that with your Super Doppler forecast.
Closed captioning on KCCI is brought to you by the Iowa Clinic Women's Center. Going to the doctor just got easier. Visit iowaclinic.com and learn about coordinated scheduling. KCCI Storm Team 8 is your only team of 4 certified meteorologists keeping you safe under an umbrella of protection.
Richard Marks. That's who it was. We had a trivia question going there. Look at outside right now. What a beautiful sunset. Now, a little bit breezy, but it really turned out to be a fantastic day. Clouds kind of rolled in late. Temperatures kicked up into the low 60s, and here in the metro still at 61 degrees. If you're headed to one of the area football games, game time temperatures in the low 50s. Mostly cloudy south winds, and the pressure right now 30.10 and falling. Well, a new school in that station. Ogden Middle School, welcome aboard. Temperature there 58 degrees, and if you ever want to check on the temperature live, you can go to the iowachannel.com. Temperatures across the Midwest right now, mild readings from Sioux Falls, North Platte, back in the Kansas City, and really no cold air to speak of in the Midwest. It's now bottled up in the provinces of Canada, and eventually that is going to slide in here by a Thursday. Regional satellite radar. We started out the day with beautiful sunshine, bands of clouds spreading in. The area of low pressure we're watching still spinning over and through southeastern Colorado. Here's a pretty look from our Indianola webcam. Temperatures in Indianola today hit the low 60s, record highs for this time of year, by the way, in the mid-70s, but a mix of sun and clouds and just a gorgeous day down in Warren County. So not as cold tonight on the south winds. We're watching this system and the cold air punching in tomorrow. Looks to be quiet for most of our Wednesday. Then late in the day, a chance of rain, and then that cold blast moving in as we move into Thursday. We'll break it down hour by hour with our predictor computer model. 7 o'clock tonight, quiet out there. Clouds thicken up on Wednesday. Precipitation starting north and west just after the noon hour, but dry here in central Iowa. Our rain will take some time along that front, about 9:24, and right here on the back edge, just enough cold air to change some of that rain over into a little bit of a mix with some wet snowflakes. That should be about it, and then it all moves through. Thursday, sunshine by the late afternoon, but a windy and cold Thursday indeed. Forecast for tonight, low down at 45 degrees, south winds 10 to 15. For tomorrow, high temperatures still near 60 degrees. Southwest winds 10 to 15. Clouds increase as the day goes along. Here's your 5-day forecast, and, well, there's changes on the way. The best chance for rain on Thursday looks to be late, and then after midnight, mixing with some wet snowflakes. Partly cloudy Thursday, just 39. But then look at ahead.
The sunshine.
Sunshine Friday, sunshine Saturday, sunshine Sunday. Yeah, all in the 40s. Look at Friday's low, though, down at 19. That's a bit of a change. But, boy, if you have less wind and sunshine, it's always feels a little better out there.
Little people know that during the breaks, we play 1980s Trivial Pursuit.
And see, I had that one.
And Curtis is the king.
Richard,
well, sometimes.
They heard you say Richard Marks, and they were all trying to think what was the question.
Who was married to Cynthia Rhodes, who was in Flashdance.
That's right. Exactly.
Thanks, Curtis.
It's important stuff here at News Channel 8. Thank you, Curtis. Well, KCCI wants to help stop identity theft. So 6 tons of personal documents, get that, have been shredded outside our studios today so far.
And the papers keep on coming. News Channel 8's Emily Given is live outside now. And Emily, a long line out there?
Cynthia and Steve, it's actually not too bad right now. We have had a steady stream of people here just about all day, people showing up even before 11:30 this morning, before this even started. So luckily, Direct Shred was here. Now get this, every 79 seconds, as we told you last night, someone becomes a victim of identity theft. with that in mind, we've teamed up with Direct Shred to destroy anything with your personal information on it. They are doing this for free. You still have about 2 hours to go if you want to come and get your personal documents shredded. One woman, in fact, came this morning with 14 boxes. She's been saving up with tax information and all that kind of stuff. So other people just come in with small bags or old checks, anything you want to bring. Right now, joining me live is Greg Grant from Direct Shred. Greg, did you expect this kind of response today?
Yes, I did, actually.
6 tons, that's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very heavy. They just keep coming out of the woodwork.
And people are allowed to come and watch the documents actually be shredded here, right? So they know that it's not ending up in the wrong place.
That's correct. They can come right up and see it get shredded and actually see the outcome of it at the back end of the truck.
All right, Greg, thanks so much for your help today, and we'll be out here for, like I said, about another hour and a half, 2 hours now. Cynthia and Steve, just some things to keep in mind. If you have a credit card statement older than 1 year, you can bring it, and any tax documents older than 7 years. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Emily. Good information there.
Well, you have seen the dramatic pictures on News Channel 8 all day long.
We are talking about the flames that swept through a Clive apartment building this morning. Jeanette Trumpeter's in the newsroom now keeping track of that investigation.
Well, Steve and Cynthia, like a lot of apartment fires, this one did a lot of damage fast, and it's leaving behind a lot of questions for investigators.
Fire destroys a Clive apartment building and leaves more than a dozen people looking for a place to live. I'm Chris Negus. Tonight, I'll tell you what firefighters say caused this mess.
What happens now to the people whose apartment building burned in Clive? I'm Michelle Parker. I'll have the story coming up.
Someone withdrew money from a Des Moines man's bank account using his ATM card in Spain. The trouble is, he's never been there. It's something that could happen to anyone using an ATM card. I'm Jeff Greenwood. That story tonight.
Plus, more football playoff action to follow tonight in sports. It's all coming up after the CBS Evening News.
And Steve has an interesting story coming up, too.
We do it the
Tell
cowboy
us
way.
about it.
Yeah. Go on down to Leon. They have a special store down there just for cowboys.
Ooh,
Gotta
my
watch that
kind of
tonight.
store.
Yeah.
Can I buy one?
Exactly, yeah. Can you buy a cowboy?
Yeah.
I didn't see any cowboys for sale, but they have all the cowboy stuff. All right, thanks,
Second
Jeanette.
best. We'll be right back.
In Washington, the Federal Trade Commission launches Operation Big Fat Lie. It's targeting bogus weight loss claims. We'll have details coming up.
The state of Iowa does pretty well in the United Health Foundation's annual report card on our nation's health.
Iowa ranks 11th out of the 50 states. Now, last year we were 7th, but Iowa health officials say this year's ranking is still pretty good. Minnesota is rated the healthiest state, while Louisiana comes in dead last, so to speak.
And ladies, you may hate to wear them on your legs, but a stocking may help your heart. New studies found a polyester mesh fabric pulled up over the bottom of a weak heart helps it pump more efficiently. The company that makes the surgically implanted device hopes to have government approval by next year. And it seems like everybody is trying to lose a little weight.
We said that a time or two, and a lot of products promise to help you shed those extra pounds, but do they really work? Our Washington Bureau reporter Sally Kidd is live with the details of an FTC crackdown called Operation Big Fat Lie.
That's right, Steve and Cynthia. Good evening. Federal regulators say these particular companies they're targeting are preying upon people who are desperate to lose weight and making promises they know are false. From diet tea and pills to creams and patches, the promises are similar. Eat all your favorite foods, but still lose weight rapidly and without exercise.
I wish they were true, and I know they're not.
I think if you fall for it, then you deserve to be scammed.
The Federal Trade Commission announced Tuesday lawsuits against 6 companies that advertise products with names like BioSlim, Body Trim, Gelathin, and the 1-2-3 Reduce Fat Kit. One company says its product works faster than a hunger strike and says you can lose more weight than if you ate nothing at all.
These claims are about as credible as a note from the Tooth Fairy.
Calls to the 6 companies in question were not returned by airtime. The FTC is asking media outlets to screen out bogus ads, a major source of revenue. And Majora says their efforts are working. She says over the past several months, federal regulators have seen a decrease in such ads by about 50%. The best advice to consumers, cutting back on calories and increasing exercise, still the best way to drop pounds. You've heard that one before. Well, earlier this year, the FTC filed lawsuits against 7 other companies, accusing them of making similar bogus claims. Live in Washington, I'm Sally Kidd. Steve, back to you.
Okay, Sally, if the FTC prevails in these lawsuits, what kind of penalties will these companies face?
The government is going after the profits these companies make peddling this stuff, and they're hoping to put them out of business.
Okay, Sally, thank you very much. The FTC says since 1996, it has recovered $66 million through weight loss fraud cases. Just ahead on First News at 5, we haven't even seen our first snowfall yet, but 'tis the season for picking out Christmas trees. Find out which famous location you'll soon find this one in. Coming up.
For up-to-the-minute weather information, day or night, call the live Super Doppler 8 Network forecast at 247-8880. Sponsored by Touchstone Energy Cooperatives of Iowa. Today's market report is sponsored by the Des Moines office of A.G. Edwards & Sons.
This is a good fall football night.
Great night ahead, low 50s, game time temperatures. Highs tomorrow, 59. A good chance of rain mixing with some wet snowflakes, and then colder temperatures but sunshine. Steve, I've had at least 3 calls about what I said about Cynthia Rhodes. We know she was in Dirty Dancing. We were talking about her first movie, which was Flashdance.
That's right.
Don't
mess with these calls
in the Weather Center.
You did? Really?
Thanks, Curtis. Well, Christmas may seem like it's a long way off, but for the world's most famous Christmas tree, you know, that thing's already headed to New York City.
Is that right? Well, just this morning, the 2004 Rockefeller Center Christmas was picked from the bunch and cut down on November 30th. The 71-foot-tall Norway spruce, 71 feet tall, Curtis. They'll be decorating that with 30,000 lights in a ceremony officially kicking off the Big Apple's Christmas season. The Rockefeller Center tree has been a New York City tradition since 1933.
Have a good evening. Thanks for joining us today.